So can everybody see my screen? I'm looking at the library's website. Hypothetically, that is what you're also looking at.
Yes.
Perfect. So you will go to the library's website. I'm going to drop that into the chat. And you are going to scroll down to databases. And then the most effective way of finding this database is to select A to Z listing. And then once you do so, we are going to be looking at Learning Express PrepStep, and A to Z listing is organized alphabetically. So we're going to click on the letter L, and that is actually going to drop you down to all the databases that start with the letter L. And Learning Express PrepStep is literally right there, and we're going to click on it. Now, when you log in, it is going to load the page, and then you're going to see sort of a standardized platform. And this is great for exploring what kinds of tests are offered. We would encourage you, I'm going to walk you through the steps to make an account, because when you're trying to do the practice tests, flashcards, picking up where you left off is really only possible if you have an account. And so this account can be accessed as long as you go through the portal, and then you would log in with your portal information, and then you would have access to this particular database, and then you could log into your account through the database. So we'll go here to sign in, register, and I already actually have an account. So I'm going to show you how to set up and register for an account, and then I'm going to log in using my already established credentials. So if you've never used this before, you're going to start by clicking register, and then you will see your institution up here. If for some reason that's not provided, you can search for that institution. It should not be a problem if you are accessing it through your portal account. And you can then say, my institution is not listed here. You can resolve that situation, but hypothetically, Central Carolina should already be provided. Then you can answer these questions. You have to answer all of the ones that have the star beside them: first name, last name. Your email, you can use any email that you want, but it makes sense to use your Cougar Mail email address. So that will be your username. So be sure that whichever email address that you choose to use is one that you can easily log into, because if you need to reset your password, this is going to be the email that password goes to. For the password, you can, again, pick any password that you want. The main thing is pick a password that you can remember. This is where sometimes students get confused. Student ID number and course section number. It's not required, and you do not need that to use this resource. This resource is not limited to a class or a type of student. You can use this as long as you register for an account. So once you fill all this information in, then you will click register. And I'm going to log in, but basically you will see something very similar to what you will see when I log in. Oops, let's try again. Okay. So it's going to log me in, and then you can see here I'm at my home page. There's a couple of different ways to get to the ACT, SAT prep materials. You can scroll down and you can look at the Prepare for College, and you will see down here the guided ACT course and the guided SAT course. So I'm going to click on the ACT just as an example. You can see here that it is going to take you through the big picture of the ACT, and It is going to allow you to practice with flashcards, which you can see here, and allows you to practice with practice tests. So I want to highlight a couple of things that are really useful for the features of this particular database. First, you can see here that kind of gives you information about the test itself. It does the same thing with the SAT. You can learn about the test before you get started. Now, if you're kind of doing a final prep, you probably feel pretty confident about what the test looks like and what you would cover. But this kind of gives you some overview and strategies. I'll be honest with you, this would have been great for me to have when I was practicing for the math portion because I didn't really know how to approach it. So it gives you sort of that overview and strategies, skills review, kind of helps you test where you are and measure what you may need to work on. And then the practice tests. These are probably the most practical part of this particular database. So I'm not going to actually walk you through how to take one of these tests. That's something you can do on your own time. But I am going to show you some interesting features that make this particularly helpful and special, especially as you take these practice tests leading up to your actual test, whenever that date is. So we're going to click on the practice test. And it is going to load the test and kind of help you know more about it, like how do you take it, like what to expect, all that good stuff. But I love this part. You can choose your test mode. You can decide, do you want it to be like the real thing, like a simulation of your actual test, meaning the timer is going to be going and you will take the test, and when the timer is up, your test is up. Then you have the practice test where you can actually see kind of where you've made mistakes and how you can grow and kind of figure out like a little bit more about where you are in the process. Practice tests are a little bit, they're kind of like the moderate level. You have a timer so you can see how long it takes you, but it's not going to cut the test off. And then the learner actually just helps you go through each and every test, and you are not timed or anything like that. You can just go as fast and as slow as you want, just to kind of see what's out there in the test and see what to expect. So not only can you approach these tests in 3 different ways, depending on where you are and what you want to accomplish with each of your practices, but you can actually take this test as many times as you want. So if you're like, I'm going to try as a learner, then we'll try practice, and then we'll try simulation, you can. And then if, let's say, for example, a knock on wood, the internet gets cut off. If you are in the middle of your test, then you can actually go back to your account. You can go to your center. And then I'm just going to close without saving, or I can save, but I can pick back where I left off. So you will see under your resources what you have been working on. You can see here, because I saved it, I can see everything that I've been working on. And then I can view my notes if I've taken any. So it kind of organizes it by the type of material that you have been interacting with, so that you can then prepare for whatever you want to do next, whether it's you need to practice with flashcards, you need to do micro lessons, you need to look at a book. And again, you're not competing with other folks to take the same test. So if you were trying to check out a physical book, someone else had it, we can totally try to get you a resource that will help you in the physical form. But if you're like, I got to study right now, this is your study right now. This is that opportunity to get started on your studying and to do a little bit of practice each day as you wait for your physical material to come to the library, for you to pick it up, or for you to find it wherever it is that you choose to access it from. So this is a way that you can do that. The SAT is the exact same thing. You can always go back to the home page. If you're more of a person that would prefer to just search for it. You can totally search SAT, ACT up here, and you can find the exact same material. The benefit of just scrolling down and going to prepare for college and then going to the actual course itself is the organization and layout. It's actually organized much more clearly here than it is if you just search for it directly. Everything's there, but it's sort of like test here, test there, flashcards here, flashcards there. This sort of kind of gives you a comprehensive, this is the steps you can take this test in or prepare for this test in that way. I will say one really great resource here is the ebooks. This is Math Success in 20 minutes a day. There's not going to be every ebook in the entire world to help you with the SAT, but they've got a few things there that can be very helpful. And then this may also be helpful is the flashcards. And so the flashcards can actually take you through different parts of the test, but also you've got different flashcards to focus on different things. And they're just sort of interactive. You can see here you've got cards 1 through 10, passport to advanced math, so you know kind of what you're looking at. And then you can click on it and you'll get the answer. If you're like, yeah, I already know that, operations with polynomials, I have no idea what that is, but it sounds hyper interesting. So you can kind of look through and see, and then feel a little bit more prepared. And this might be helpful for you as you do your practice tests. And this may also be helpful as you go through learner mode. If you're seeing things that you don't really recognize, you can stop and start those tests, check out the flashcards and ebooks, come back to that test. And so that pause, stop and start function of the test allows you to really work through some of the more difficult or challenging parts of the test that will help maybe prepare you as you do that final exam cram push for preparing for the ACT or the SAT. So that is a lot of information all at once. I just want to kind of go through it one more time in the sense of where you would find these tests and these materials. When you're on the home page, you will scroll down to academic skills and test preparation in this section here, and then click prepare for college. And then you can scroll. It's going to see the menu there is going to be the ACT course and the SAT course. Do you have any questions? Is there anything that I can help answer to help clarify how you use this resource? Or if you need to find something using this resource.
Are you able to have the flashcards open at the same time as the test?
We can definitely see. Okay, let's try flashcards here. Let's do a practice test. So I'm going to do my math test since I've got my math flashcards. Let's open these up. So I've got my module here. I can kind of play around with that. And then I've got my cards here. And then you can see the time remaining and the time that has already elapsed. Section time remaining, that kind of thing. Or sorry, the section time remaining here and the test time remaining here kind of gives you a big picture. You can jump to questions, you can take notes, you can finish later, and then you can score the test. So you can have your flashcards up. I would just say, like, if you're doing the simulation one, you may want to think about that's going to be as close to the real thing as you can get. So you probably wouldn't want to have your flashcards up, but if you're doing practice or learner, it can be very helpful. Any other questions or any other things you can think of that you want to see? So that's pretty much it. The goal was not to help you take the test. Right here, right now, the goal is to help you get from, my test is coming up in 2 to 3 weeks. I need just that final push, that little bit of extra help. This is that little bit of extra help.